Hi friends, it's Miss Nancy. I am going to read a story again today, and I am going to spend a little bit of time in this reading talking about the pictures in the book so that our friends who maybe don't see so well will be able to appreciate the artwork as well. So the book that we're going to read today is The Tiny Seed. It is written and illustrated by Eric Carle. So the very interesting thing about Eric Carle is he creates all of his pictures in his books by collage, which is when you cut paper or you tear paper and then you glue it together to make your picture. We do a lot of that when we're doing art things. But what's also very interesting is that not only does he create his own pictures that way, he also very often makes the paper that he cuts or tears to make his collages. So he's a very talented man. There's a museum in Springfield, Massachusetts that is all about him. I'm going to look and see if I can find a virtual link for that so that you can take a tour of it. It is autumn. A strong wind is blowing. It blows flower seeds high in the air and carries them far across the land. One of the seeds is tiny, smaller than any of the others. Will it be able to keep up with the others? And where are they all going? So this picture shows a bunch of autumn trees with their leaves brightly colored. They're red and orange and yellow. And then it shows the wind by showing streaks of color, and that color is speckled, all different colors. I bet that's some of the paper that Eric Carle made himself. And then you see the seeds flying through the air, and the very last one is a little teeny tiny seed, and it is seeming to fall behind the other seeds. We'll have to see what happens. One of the seeds flies higher than the others. Up, up it goes. It flies too high, and the sun's hot rays burn it up. But the tiny seed sails on with the others. And in the picture, we see that little seed still at the end of the line of the seeds, but he's keeping up with them. We see a great big orange and yellow and red sun. And then we see that seed that's getting all burned up by that sun because it got a little bit too close. Another seed lands on a tall and icy mountain. The ice never melts and the seed cannot grow. The rest of the seeds fly on, but the tiny seed does not go as fast as the others. And so we still see that sun in this picture. It's starting to go a little bit behind clouds. And we see the seeds moving on, and that little seed is falling behind. The bottom of the page, we see these great big mountains. They're brown and blue, and they're all capped with white to show the snow and the ice. And one of those seeds has fallen right on that mountain, and that's as far as he's going. Now they fly over the ocean. One seed falls into the water and drowns. The others sail on with the wind, but the tiny seed does not go as high as the others. We see a blue and green ocean. We see the wind flying over, and what's really funny is some of the streaks that are meant to be the wind look like the shape of a fish now. There's a bright yellow fish in the ocean. He's got orange and reddish fins and tails. And he's kind of the same shape as a couple of the little pieces of wind up in the sky. And that little seed is just a little bit above the ocean, but he's still moving on. But there's another seed that's fallen right into the waves, and that must be the one that drowned. One seed drifts down onto the desert. It is hot and dry, and the seed cannot grow. Now the tiny seed is flying very low, but the wind pushes it on with the others. And in this picture, we see a few little cactuses that actually you're supposed to say cacti. They are green and they've got some spikes in them. The rest of the picture is pretty blah. It's pretty brown. because of course the desert is very brown without a lot of color in it. Finally, the wind stops and the seeds fall gently down on the ground. A bird comes by and eats one seed. The tiny seed is not eaten. It is so small that the bird does not see it. And oh my goodness, we see such a big bird in this picture. He's red and blue and purple and green, and he has a seed in his mouth. He's standing on the nice green grass, and we see the tiny seed with some of his other friends that are a little bit bigger, all waiting there in the grass. Now it is winter. After their long trip, the seeds settle down. They look just as if they are going to sleep in the earth. Snow falls and covers them like a soft white blanket. A hungry mouse that also lives in the ground eats a seed for his lunch. But the tiny seed lies very still, and the mouse does not see it. And so this picture is in sort of three bands, and the top is blues and greens with lots of big white snowflakes in it. And then we see the layer of white snow, and finally the brown and the orange and the yellow dirt. And in that dirt there's a little mouse eating a seed, but the little seed is behind him and he can't see it. So the little seed is not getting eaten. Now it is spring. After a few months the snow has melted. It is really spring. Birds fly by, the sun shines, rain falls. The seeds grow so round and full they start to burst open a little. Now they are not seeds anymore, they are plants. First they send roots down into the earth. Then their little stems and leaves begin to grow up toward the sun and air. There is another plant that grows much faster than the new little plants. It is a big fat weed, and it takes all the sunlight and the rain away from one of the small new plants, and that little plant dies. The tiny seed hasn't begun to grow yet. It will be too late. Hurry! But finally it too starts to grow into a plant. And so in this picture we see the plants growing, we see the sunshine and some nice bright birds flying at the top, and the rain falling down. See a little bit of everything they said was happening. The little seed though, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly where he is. Oh, there he is. He's between two bigger plants, and he is just barely beginning to grow. The warm weather also brings the children out to play. They too have been waiting for the sun and springtime. One child doesn't see the plants as he runs along, and oh, he breaks one. Now it cannot grow anymore. And we see a great big foot on this page, and it is stepping on one of the littler plants, but not the tiny seeds plant. The tiny plant that grew from the tiny seed is growing fast, but its neighbor grows even faster. Before the tiny plant has 3 leaves, the other plant has 7. And look, a bud, and now even a flower. But what is happening? First, there are footsteps. Then a shadow looms over them. Then a hand reaches down and breaks off the flower. And in the picture, we see a beautiful orange and yellow flower, and we see the little plant started from the tiny seed, and we see a hand picking the orange and yellow flower. A boy has picked the flower to give to a friend. And we see a boy kneeling down and a girl sitting on the ground, and he is handing her that beautiful orange and yellow flower. I bet she's very happy about that. The girl has really long brown hair, and the boy has short blackish hair. It is summer. Now the tiny plant from the tiny seed is all alone. It grows on and on. It doesn't stop. The sun shines on it and the rain waters it. It has many leaves. It grows taller and taller. It is taller than the people. It is taller than the trees. It is taller than the houses. And now a flower grows on it. People come from far and near to look at this flower. It is the tallest flower they have ever seen. It is a giant flower. And oh my goodness, in this picture we do indeed see a flower that is about twice as tall as the house that's in the picture. And it's got orange and yellow and red petals and green leaves. And there are lots of people standing around looking at it and pointing at it. It is beautiful. I wonder how that flower got that big from such a tiny little seed. All summer long, the birds and bees and butterflies come visiting. They have never seen such a big and beautiful flower. And on this page, we see a nice bright yellow sun that almost looks like it has a smiley face on it. And we see the birds and the butterflies, and they're all flying around this beautiful, huge flower. Now it is autumn again. The days grow shorter, the nights grow cooler, and the wind carries yellow and red leaves past the flowers. Some petals drop from the giant flower, and they sail along with the bright leaves over the land and down to the ground. And in the picture, we see those very beautiful, colorful trees again that we're so used to seeing in the fall, with red leaves and yellow leaves and orange leaves. And we see the strips of wind blowing, and we see some of the petals falling off of that giant flower that came from the tiny little seed. The wind blows harder. The flower has lost almost all of its petals. It sways and bends away from the wind, but the wind grows stronger and shakes the flower. Once more the wind shakes the flower, and this time the flower's seed pod opens. Out come many tiny seeds that quickly sail far away on the wind. And in the picture we see the flower, it only has 2 petals left on it. One of its petals is flying away, and then we see lots and lots of seeds flying away from the flower. I hope that you have liked this book called The Tiny Seed by Eric Carle. It's one of my favorite books, and it always inspires me to go out and plant some flower seeds so that I can have a beautiful flower, or hopefully many beautiful flowers, in my yard as well. The problem is Miss Nancy is not very good at keeping those flowers growing. I guess we'll see what happens this year.